to How to Happiness. This is the third of 3 videos on creating boundaries. Now, I'm really going to try and get this one a bit shorter than the last one. I know it went a bit too long. I hope you got lots of information out of it though. That's the video in which I spoke about the exercise that I wanted to get you to try for a week, being with more positive people and spending less time with the negative people in your life. So we have a list now, we have a plan, and what I wanted to talk about in this video is some of the people that you might be dealing with, some relationships that might be more negative, and how we're going to avoid those, or at least minimize the effect of those negative people on our lives. Now, I just wanted to relay a story of a friend of mine who had an incident with a negative person not long after I made the last video, and it reminded me that spending time with your positive friends and positive family, the people who support you and make you feel like you belong and have value, how spending time with those people can help you when you need to spend time with more negative people, because it gives you a feeling of confidence and self-assuredness that you, as you are, as the positive being that you want to be, are great, and you don't need to succumb to the negative. So this friend of mine spent time with me in a group of our friends and felt very warm and included and supported in that group, and was reminded what great friends that she has. And she'd been going through a bit of a rough patch, and one of her ways of dealing with that sometimes is to kind of shut herself off. So she wasn't spending time really with anybody who was going to make her feel better about herself or necessarily worse about herself. However, after spending time with us and being reminded about what great friends she has in her life and how welcomed and supported she is within that group, she had gone off to see her mum, and she has some, negative problems with her mum. She's quite a negative sort of person, and she sometimes can feel really brought down when she's hanging out with her mum. But after spending time with us, she'd gone off to her mum's and had felt as though her mother's negativity just floated off her, just flew away. It didn't affect her at all. So I just wanted to give you that little story, another reminder and motivational thought that hopefully will help you with your exercise over this week. Let's move on. One of the relationships I'd like to talk about that's quite prominent in most of our lives is the one that we have with our parents. Now, some parents can be quite a negative influence on us, and we might be used to those negative influences, and it becomes a bit of a habit to live with them and expect those behaviours when we're with them, and we respond in a expected and habitual way. But what we want to do is try and change that, especially for this one exercise week. So one way that you can perhaps look at your parents is to maybe see that the way that they behave is the way that they've been brought up, the way that they've been taught, that all the issues and the problems in their life have created them in this way and given them these perhaps negative and not very helpful ways of perhaps dealing with you and maybe everyone around them. But we're not trying to fix them. The only person that we can really expect to make changes with is ourselves. So what we need to change is the way that we look at them. So when you're with them, especially if you need to be with them in this next week, one, use the tactics we've talked about already. Try to minimize the time that you spend with them. Try to maybe cut out a visit if you don't need to do it, make some excuses, and just try to spend some time without them for a little while. But also then, when you are with them, try to remember that they're really just working with the information they have, and we will talk about this later on and come back to the parent relationship later on in further tutorials. But for the moment, just try to be generous, try not to take it on board, try not to feel personalised about these negative comments and the negativity of your parents, and minimise the effect with the techniques that I already spoke about in the second video. Do you have children? I have 2 children, 6 and 9, and it's really easy to get involved in the negativity that can go on with my kids, especially my son, who's quite good at jumping into a negative stream and flowing on down. So I wanted to talk about your relationship with your children, and perhaps in this week of experimentation that we're working on, you will inevitably need to deal with your children, especially if they're young like mine. Now, I wanted to mention about children that they're still learning how to deal with their emotions and how to cope with the world and learn how to respond. And so when they can dive into negative thoughts, have a breakdown about some small thing, what we need to try and do is to once again be the rock in the stream and allow their negativity to flow on by. By jumping into the stream with them, we only encourage them, and we're probably not showing them a better way of responding and dealing with their problems. So for their sake and for ours, so that we can stay more positive, allowing that negativity to flow on by, sit calmly back and see what's needed from this situation. What in fact do your children need in this moment? And try to stay outside that negativity. It's a good idea to try to remember that your children have their own journey to live, their own lives to experience, their good and bad moments to have, and it's through those experiences that they learn how to become, healthy and responsible adults. So by jumping into the negativity stream with them, you're not necessarily helping them, and you can't necessarily protect them from some of the bad things that happen in life. What they need from you is to be a calm and positive and reliable source of love, and by jumping into the negativity stream with them, you're probably not able to really achieve that. So when there's a meltdown, try to stay calm, see what's needed, and quietly give what they need, and try not to jump into their negativity stream. Now, the last relationship I'd like to talk about is perhaps a partner in your life. Now, it's possible that you live with a negative person, somebody who's more negative than they are positive, or perhaps respond to you negatively. Now, for the period of this 1 week that we want to experiment here, you can still use some of those techniques that we talked about in the first video by spending a bit less time with them, cutting down the time that you spend with them, perhaps maybe avoiding some moments that you don't need to spend together. That's one way. Another way is to perhaps have a little bit of a look into your history and see the type of situations and events that bring out the most negative aspects of your partner. And then within this week, try to avoid doing those particular things that seem to bring out the most negative aspects of them, and try to spend more time in the things that bring out the more positive aspects of them, or at least the least negative of them, depending on how bad your situation may be. So that's how you can deal with this 1 week that we're talking about. This is probably really quite important. If you do really try this 1 week and really try to sense how you feel after spending less time with the negative aspects of perhaps your partner, it can be a real catalyst for very positive change in your life. Because with this, that you might come to understand just how much of an impact a negative person, perhaps your partner, has on your overall well-being and your overall emotional health, your overall happiness level. Now, when you discover that, and particularly with partners, you may want to approach them and let them know maybe about the experiment, or just that you spent some extra time trying to spend more time in their positive aspects and less in their negative, and it had really made a big change for you. You might want to let them know about the experiment. They might like to try it. They might not realize what an impact their negativity has on you, and by letting them know that, they might want to make some changes. Now, you need to remember the only person we can ever change is ourselves, but you might be lucky. They might want to make some changes. They might have negative people in their life, maybe at work or their family, that are bringing about some of this negativity for themselves. You might show them a way to perhaps reduce some of the negativity in their life, which then spills over into you. So these are some ideas that you might want to keep and hopefully help you deal with perhaps a negative partner. Later, you might consider, if it's a really ongoing and difficult problem, some counselling. There's books. There'll be more information on this site that might help with other areas that maybe contribute to their negativity. Anyway, there's always answers. You don't need to accept a poor situation. You can keep working towards solutions, and there's always something that can be done. Okay, so keep a lookout for them. Even if you don't find them here, they'll be in a book or some information that you can find on the net. Keep looking. One more point about relationships. If you are in a volatile, abusive, violent relationship, it's not really within the capacity of this site or these tutorials to help you to deal with those situations, and these techniques don't necessarily help in a volatile situation. Sometimes walking away from somebody who is violent or abusive can actually inflame them more. So please find the help that you need to deal with those situations. I'll put something on the website to help guide you in finding the help that you need. And if you are in those situations, you do need some help and you do need some support. Your safety and your emotional health is your right, and you should seek it and find what you need, because staying in those situations and living with that sort of situation is really not acceptable, and I want you to have more. Okay. Because I want to make sure that this video isn't too long again, like the last one, I'm just going to wrap it up now. I hope you've understood how making some boundaries is going to help protect you from negativity in your life. You have a right to being positive. You just have to go out there and look for it. Spend more time with the positive people, less time with the negative, and see how it feels. Please put your comments in. I know I keep saying it, but it's great for me to hear how you're going and how this information is working for you. And also, of course, it helps other people to be inspired to give it a go themselves and make changes in their lives as well. So inspire someone today and put a comment in. I look forward to seeing you in the next video.